So I'm going to talk about a little bit about moms and some of the spiritual and natural moms that have influenced our lives that we don't personally know, but their attributes and their life habits you can pick something up from that. You know, the Bible is not like a story that an author wrote. It's a collection of God's interaction with humanity. It's a storyline of how God created us, and then we rebelled against him, and then his process to bring us back. And so when you're reading the Bible, you're not reading a storybook. It's a collection of events that God has interwoven into the life of humanity to bring us back, the ones that he loves. Now, the cool thing about God is that he's not bound by time. So he can move in and out of time and do things and shift and change things according to his own desire. Sometimes you think it's time bound. Well, it's too late. It's already passed. That happened when I was young, but you can still change it now. It could not even be your life. It could be your father or your grandfather or your great-grandfather or your great-grandmother, and God still steps into that and changes it. There's nothing he can't do. So I want to just examine some great moms, some mothers in the scriptures. Turn with me to Luke chapter 1. It says, in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a town in Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin engaged to a man named Joseph of the house of David. Now, sometimes when you're reading a story, you see chronological, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and then it kind of tells you a story, but that's not the way the Bible is. There's really, you're not going to see very much in terms of contemporaries. So Mary is... We're going to talk about Mary here at the beginning, but she's not a contemporary of, let's say, Esther or Abigail in the Old Covenant. They're not like friends. They're not like, oh, yeah, hey, how are you? They don't even know each other. This is hundreds of years of separation. But the principles of the kingdom, the life of the kingdom is the same, because the God that we serve, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, is timeless. Now, I'm telling you, that's important for you to catch that. Because sometimes you'll have things in your life that have bound you, still hold you in shackles, because you can't seem to get over it. But you should get over it. Because the God that you serve is over it. When I was young, it's okay. Go through it. Get it processed out so that it can be gone, so that you can remember, but it won't have any emotional impact. So Mary is the first mom we're going to look at. He says in the 6th month of Luke 1:26, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a town in Galilee called Nazareth, and to a virgin engaged to a man named Joseph of the house of David. And the virgin's name was Mary, and the angel came to her and said, "Greetings, favored woman, the Lord is with you." But she was deeply troubled by this statement, wondering what kind of greeting this could be. She had never had that type of greeting before. Then the angel told her, "Don't be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. Now listen, you will conceive and give birth to a son, and you will name him Jesus. And he will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. And the Lord God will give him the throne of his father David. He will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom will have no end." And Mary asked the angel, "How can this be, since I have not had sexual relations with a man?" And the angel replied to her, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the Holy One born will be called the Son of God. And consider your relative Elizabeth. even she has conceived a son. This is news to Mary, because Elizabeth was in hiding after she realized she was pregnant, because she's an older woman. And in those days, man, that was a dangerous pregnancy. Because it wasn't like the doctors and the hospitals that we have today. So you're old and you get pregnant now at an advanced age. It's just so much trauma. So Elizabeth kept it quiet. And the angel announces it to Mary. She has conceived a son in her old age, and this is the 6th month for her who is called childless. For nothing will be impossible with God. Now it's a highlight moment right there. If you're keeping notes, you should highlight that as a specific note. For nothing will be impossible with God. If there's a lesson you're learning from God's encounter with Mary, this is the lesson. Nothing is impossible with God. As a framework, a foundation for your life habit, how you live, how you give, how you serve, how you operate, what the things you eat, the things you drink, you need to understand this. Nothing is impossible, help me, with God. Nothing's impossible. Nothing's impossible. So if nothing is impossible, then nothing is impossible. I can do anything. God can do anything, because nothing is impossible. Some of the drama that is drama, don't worry about it, because nothing is impossible with God. Don't allow things that are outside of your control to mess with you, because it's never outside your control, because nothing is impossible with your God. He's not just the creator of heaven and earth. He's your creator. He's my Father. He's my God. He's your God. Nothing is impossible with your God. So Mary gets that. And Mary says, okay. Now, listen, some things have to go on, because she's betrothed to Joseph, and Joseph is like, what? You're pregnant, Yeah, and the angel has to meet him and say, hey, whoa, this is what's going on. Now, the penalty for being pregnant outside of marriage was death. So they were going to stone her. But God steps in and works everything together for good, because nothing is impossible with God. I'm going to give you that, and I'm going to ask you, if you haven't already done that, is make that a life pattern that the rest of your life is built on. Make that a bedrock statement. Nothing is impossible with God. So the next time the enemy hits you with some news, you don't get overwhelmed by the news long term. You'll get overwhelmed a little bit. Oh my God, I can't believe that. But then you come back to yourself and realize nothing is impossible with God. I mean, God can do anything. And I'm his daughter, or I'm his son, and I can petition him because he's alive and with me right now to bring change and a shift in the atmosphere. If you're a mom, you should practice doing that all the time. Because some of your kids, if you got some multiple kids, they're going to be some great kids, and in a bunch of some crazy kids. I mean, they're not all the same kids, right? There's like, you got 2 or 3 of them that's like, come here. And then another one over there who just won't keep playing video games. Come on, you kidding me? But you work with them because they're your kids. And you realize this: nothing is impossible with God. So even the ones you've given up on, they're never gonna, I just can't believe, nothing's impossible. So Mary get that, and she becomes this powerful woman in the kingdom, the mother of Jesus. Let's look at a second mom. I think David was just talking about her, and Esther. Chapter 7, verse 1, it says, the king and Haman came to feast with Esther the queen. She's a Jew, but no one knows she's a Jew because her uncle Mordecai said to her, don't reveal that you're a Jew yet. Just kind of hang on. And they're in captivity, so the Jews are not a free people during this time. And Esther is the queen, but no one knows she's Jewish. Once again, the second day, while drinking wine, the king asked Esther, Queen Esther, whatever you ask will be given to you. Whatever you seek, even to half the kingdom, will be done. Esther has an enemy who was a favored person by the king, Haman. And he hates the Jews because Mordecai won't bow down to him. Well, he won't bow down because he's a joke of a person. I mean, he's not good. He's not honorable. His culture is not in alignment with the things of God. So Mordecai won't reduce himself and bow down to Haman. And so it infuriates Haman, and he hates him. And he can't check himself. Sometimes you'll have a bad day or a bad feeling or a bad emotion or do something you shouldn't have done, but there's something inside of you that checks you, and then you apologize or you stop or you change or you get rid of that. He can't do that. Haman has no ability to check himself because he doesn't have a relationship with the living God, so he has no foundation of truth and honor that his life is built on. You should always build your life, even though sometimes you're young and make a bad decision, build your life on the foundations of godliness. Because nothing is impossible with God. So if you're going to be right with anybody, be right with God. So the king says, I'll give you whatever you seek, up to half the kingdom. So in verse 3, Queen Esther answers, if I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if the king is pleased, spare my life. This is my request. And spare my people. This is my desire. For my people and I have been sold to destruction, death, and annihilation. If we had merely been sold as male and female servants, I would have kept silent. Indeed, the trouble wouldn't be worth burdening the king. Now, it really is, but she's honoring him. She's elevating his position in her heart. For the people and I have been sold to death, annihilation. Here's what the king says in verse 5. Who is this, Queen Esther, and where is the one who would devise such a scheme? And Esther answered, the adversary and enemy is this evil Haman. Now, Haman is there with him at the time. So it's completely news to him that he is the guy. Even though he hates Mordecai and he hates the Jews, he thinks he's safe because he's gotten favor from Queen Esther, and he doesn't realize she's a Jew. So he is fighting against her people. Who is this? And Esther answered, verse 6, the adversary and enemy is this evil Haman. Haman stood terrified before the king and queen. The king arose in anger and went from where they were drinking wine to the palace garden. Now, he's in double trouble already because the king has been drinking wine and now he's mad. That's a bad combination for Haman. Haman remained to beg Queen Esther for his life because he realized the king was planning something terrible for him. Just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. The king exclaimed, will he actually violate the queen in my own house? And as soon as the statement had left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face, put a bag over his head. Harbona, one of the king's eunuchs, said, there is a gallows 75 feet tall in Haman's house that he made for Mordecai, who gave the report that saved the king. The king said, hang him on it. and they hanged Haman on the gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. And then the king's anger subsided. Here's a principle we're learning from Esther, who risked her life to save others. That if you'll put yourself in harm's way, God will always deliver you. There's not a, listen, sometimes you don't want to ever put yourself to be a difference maker for somebody else, but if you put yourself in that position, God will always make a difference for you. He'll always, always, every time. Because nothing's impossible. And if God finds you faithful, he shows himself faithful. He cannot show himself any other way. So if you're unfaithful, he can't reward unfaithfulness with faithfulness, or else you'll never change. But if you're faithful, if you're honorable, he'll be honorable. If you'll give, he'll give. If you serve, he'll serve. He'll serve you and honor you and fight your battles and cause you to overcome, open up a door that's a wall. There's nothing he can't do. So Esther knew. So she's setting this thing up. So she risked her life, but she knows how faithful God is, and he rewards her. Moms bring reward. Let's look at Abigail, found in 1 Samuel. Again, none of these women are contemporaries, but the principle of the kingdom flows through all of them. Abigail is a great woman, a powerful woman with wisdom and favor that comes from the Lord. She is married to a guy named Nabal, and he's a rascal. I mean, he just can't control himself. You know, you should, sometimes things happen, but you should as a believer check yourself. Don't be more valuable in your own mind than you actually are in the kingdom. You got to check yourself. Well, that's right. I'll destroy them. Stop. Be still. Slow your roll a little bit. Come on. Sometimes you have to realize there's more things happening than what's important to me. If you don't catch that you're not the most important person in the room, you'll never be able to do things that God has called you to do to elevate your life. If Jesus felt he was the most important person on the planet, he never would have been able to do this. And if he doesn't stretch out his arms and get crucified, we're dead. So he gave his life for yours. Wow. When he has the power to stop it all. Here's Abigail, powerful woman. It's going to end up being the wife of David, the king. But during this time, you know, Abigail's young, David's young. He's not the king yet. He's just on the journey. And so her husband, Nabal, who was just a hothead, he can't control himself. He gets some news, he doesn't like it. He's selfish, self-centered. And so David interacts with him, and the interaction's not good. And then one of Nabal's young men in 1 Samuel 25:14 informed Abigail, Nabal's wife, look, David sent messengers from the wilderness to greet our master, but he screamed at them. The men treated us very well, and when we were in the field, we weren't harassed, and nothing of ours was missing the whole time we were living among them. Listen, this is a time where there's marauders. I mean, there's everything. It's wide open. There's no like police force or any organized, structured protection. If you didn't protect yourself, you didn't get protected. It says, the guy says, they were around us both day and night, the entire time. We were with them herding the sheep. Now consider carefully what you should do, because there is certain to be trouble for our master and his entire family, which Abigail's in. He is such a worthless fool, nobody can talk to him. Now I know nobody in their life is like that, but that's a reality of the person that they're living with. And so it rises and falls based on his ability to control himself and to lead. And so right now, it's in a fall zone because he's encountered David, and David doesn't know him. It says, Abigail hurried, taking 200 loaves of bread. Now, she's a smart woman. 2 clay jars of wine, 5 butchered sheep, a bushel of roasted grain, 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on donkeys. Then she said to her male servants, go ahead of me, and I'll be right behind you. But she did not tell her husband Nabal. Why? Because he's a knucklehead. And he's going to do something that's going to hurt his whole family. As she rode the donkey down a mountain pass hidden from view, she saw David and his men coming toward her and met them. David had just said, I guarded everything that belonged to this man in the wilderness for nothing. He was not missing anything, yet he paid me back evil for good. May God punish me and do so severely if I let any of his males survive until morning. He's going to kill everybody. When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off the donkey, knelt down with her face to the ground, and paid homage to David. She knelt at his feet and said, the guilt is mine, my Lord. Please let your servant speak to you directly. Listen to the words of your mouth. Now watch this. David is already head now with his group to destroy. And he's got soldiers. It's not like David and 5 guys. Like 400 soldiers. And they're going to destroy this guy and his whole lineage. So Abigail meets him there and then takes responsibility. The guilt is mine. Listen to the words of your servant. My Lord should not pay attention to this worthless fool Nabal, for he lives up to his name. His name means stupid. And stupidity is all he knows. I, your servant, didn't see my Lord's young men whom you sent. Now, my Lord, as surely as the Lord lives and as you yourself live, it is the Lord who has kept you from participating in bloodshed and avenging yourself by your own hand. May your enemies and those who intend to harm you be like Nabal. Let this gift that she has gathered, let this gift your servant has brought to my Lord be given to the young men who follow my Lord. Please forgive your servant's offense. Now watch this. Remember I talked to you about posture. She's not in a posture where she's looking David like this, eyeball to eyeball. She's in a posture where she's looking at David like this. Oh, David, oh, king. And he's not the king. Please. So when David's looking at her and all that she has brought, his heart starts to change. He's going to wipe out her entire legacy. But she shows up with humbleness and humility. And it shifts the atmosphere. In verse 32, it says, David said to Abigail, blessed be the Lord God of Israel, who sent you to meet me today. May your discernment be blessed, and may you be blessed. Today you've kept me from participating in bloodshed and avenging myself by my own hand. That would not be a good thing for a king to do. Otherwise, as surely as the Lord God of Israel lives, who prevented me from harming you, if you had not come quickly to meet me, Nabal wouldn't have had any males left by morning light. So she stops David from avenging himself, ultimately becomes the wife of King David. Now, when Nabal hears the news, he has a heart attack. He hears the news that David was coming to kill him. He's like, ow. I'm just telling you, I mean, here's the deal. You don't have to fight your enemies. Let the God fight your enemies. You got something going on, stop fighting that. Just be at peace with it. Well, this is evil. Yeah, I'm not saying that you accept it. I'm just saying you should go and complain to the one who can do anything, that nothing's impossible. Father, your children, these are your kids. They belong to you. You gave them to me. I'm giving them back to you. Just touch their heart when they go to sleep tonight. Open up this door. This kid can't. I mean, I'm telling you, you need to talk to Father and let him work it out. Because he's great at it. He's the master. And moms have a sense of that and an understanding of what's going on. Here's a fourth mom, Hannah. Hannah's not even a mom yet, but she's going to be because she wants to be. Hannah becomes the mother of Samuel. She has great faith in God. 1 Samuel 1:1 says, there was a man from Ramathaim, Zophim, in the hill country of Ephraim. His name was Elkanah, his son of Jeroham, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. Now, if I'm butchering these names and they're your ancestors, I apologize for that. He had two wives, the first named Hannah and the second Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah was childless. And this man would go up from his town every year to worship and to sacrifice to the Lord of armies, at Shiloh, where Eli's two sons, Hophni and Phinehas. Hophni and Phinehas are the sons of the high priest, and they're just bad guys. If you read this, sometimes read on your own, they're stealing and manipulating, and they're in it. There's the servants of the Lord, and that's just a bad news, Mick. You can't be the servant of God and then lie and steal and cheat. But these guys are doing that, and their end is going to be bad. They were priests of the Lord's priests. When Elkanah offered a sacrifice, he always gave portions of meat to his wife Peninnah and to each of her sons and daughters, but he gave a double portion to Hannah. For he loved Hannah, even though the Lord had kept her from conceiving. Her rival would taunt her severely just to provoke her, because the Lord had kept Hannah from conceiving. And year after year, she went up to the Lord's house. Her rival taunted her in this way. Hannah, where are your kids? Where are your kids, Hannah? Oh, you don't have any, do you? Okay. So it was just brutal for Hannah. And her husband asked her, why are you crying? Why don't you eat? Why are you troubled? Am I not better than 10 sons? And the reality of it is, he's not better than one son. Because she wouldn't have been crying anymore if she had one son. On one occasion, Hannah got up, and after they ate and drank at Shiloh, the priest Eli was sitting on a chair by the doorpost of the Lord's temple. He's not even really a really good lead. Deeply hurt, Hannah prayed to the Lord and wept with many tears. And making a vow, she pleaded, Lord of armies, if you will take notice of your servant's affliction, remember and not forget me, and give your servant a son. I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and his hair will never be cut. That's a sign of devotion. Let me just park for a second there and unlock something for you. Several times as we're reading the stories, you're going to find that the women would refer to the God that you serve as the Lord of armies. The God that you serve is a warrior God. He's able to overcome at any time, anything. Listen. And they address him by his title. Lord of armies, the master, the Lord of the king, the one who's able to do anything. They operate in that relationship. That's their relationship. Why is that important? Because there's going to be battles that you need God to fight for you. There's certain things that you're not going to be able to overcome without his intervention. So sometimes cancer will knock on your door and you need to say, Lord of armies, could you get the door? Sometimes poverty comes to attack your house. You need to say to poverty, I need you to meet with the Lord of armies first. So there's certain attributes on how those who walk with God have lived their life, so that when they come to obstacles, resistance, challenges, which we all have, they're able to overcome them by putting themselves in the right position in relationship to the living God. It's important you know that, because he's the same today for you as he is for her. Now, she's childless and is constantly in competition and struggling and difficulty. And so she makes this vow. If you give me a son, he's yours. I give him back to you. And day one. It says in verse 19, the next morning Elkanah and Hannah got up early to worship before the Lord. After they returned home to Ramah, Elkanah was intimate with his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. After some time, Hannah conceived and gave birth to a son, and she named him Samuel, because she said, I requested him from the Lord. Samuel, her son, becomes this powerful, most dynamic leader in all of Israel. Now, it would be a great story if it ended there, but she has 5 other kids. He opens her womb for Samuel. Samuel is going to become this great leader, but it's not stopped. Once she gets cooking, she is cooking, Jack. You ought to get with God on some stuff like that in your life. God, I need this. This thing is not working, but I know if you can put a little life in this, put a little secret sauce on that bad boy, woo! Let's go do this, God. You're the Lord of armies. Let's go fight these guys and overcome this. Come on. I mean, mom, she understands that. So she operates in it. Let me close with this last one. It'd be appropriate to do that. It's Moses' mom. You don't even catch the name. She has a name, but in the scriptures in Exodus, they don't even give you the name of Moses' mom. But it does say that in Exodus 1:22, Pharaoh commanded all the people, all his leaders, all the people in that culture, there was both Israel and Egyptian. He says to the Egyptians, when the Israelite women have a son, you must throw every son born to the Hebrews into the Nile, drown him. But you can let the daughters live. Can you imagine a culture that you're pregnant carrying a child for 9 months and you figure out it's a boy, and now you have to throw the boy into the Nile River to kill him? Now, they got to have soldiers and people around looking at that, because nobody would naturally do it. And he doesn't do that for everybody, only the Hebrews' sons. What a wicked, perverse, ungodly culture. What a behavior that's wrong. It's a culture of evil. But Moses' mom is not going to bow her knee to that culture. She's going to turn the tide. I'm just telling you what, we're in a culture right now that's just like crazy bad. full of lies and manipulation, deceit, trickery. Oh my golly. Where good is bad and bad is good. And it's putting our culture, our life habits on a downward slope, and somebody's hit the accelerator. I mean, it is just despicable. But you have a voice, and you should use your voice first of all like this. Father, there's no one like you, Lord of armies. You could do anything at any time. You're the great God, and I am your servant. And this is the hour that you have birthed me into this planet. And I ask, Father, that you would. And that's your position. Your position, it doesn't start, well, I'm sick and tired of you people. Stop. You got to get this one first. You got to get to the place where you get the heart of the king, and the king overwhelms your heart with his desire. Because it's only his desires that are important. The rest of them will fade. All the stuff you're dealing with right now that overwhelms you, stop. It will fade. But his word never will fade. His power will not be diminished. His love for you knows no boundaries. Do it the right way. Makes you unstoppable. It says, now a man from the family of Levi married a Levite woman, and the woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was beautiful, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could not hide him any longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with asphalt and pitch, and she placed a child in it and set it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. Then her sister stood at a distance in order to see what would happen to him. And Pharaoh's daughter went down to bathe at the Nile. Listen, I want to say this to you. I'm running a little bit out of time. But there's certain things you can set up and do, and there's other things that God supports your setup that only he can do. You can't do what you can't do. Just do what you can do. Do what you can. There's times you should be saying to the Lord, God, I've done everything I could do, but you are God. You're my God. Come on, God. Show yourself mighty, God. Open up this door, God. Close this door, Father. Lift this up, Lord. Break this down, God. Come on. He's faithful. He's faithful. He's faithful. He's faithful. Pharaoh's daughter went down to bathe in the Nile, verse 5, while her servant girls walked along the riverbank, and she saw the basket among the reeds, one of the servant girls, and she opened it and saw the child. There he was, a little boy crying. She felt sorry for him and said, this is one of the Hebrew boys. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, whose sister? Moses' sister. His sister's watching to see what's going on. And so when she sees Pharaoh's daughter ask the question, she says, oh, yeah. She plants a seed. Should I go and call a Hebrew woman who is nursing to nurse the boy for you? She plants the idea that she would keep the baby and nurture the baby and take care of the baby, and the baby would become her son. So Pharaoh's daughter says, go do that. So she went and called Moses' mom. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child and nurse him for me, and I will pay you wages. I'm going to pay you to nurse your own son. So the woman took the boy and nursed him. When the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she named him Moses because she said, I drew him out of the water. Isn't God grand? Father, we know that you work everything together for good. Work it. Work all the issues, all the challenges, all the struggles, anything that we're dealing with, we ask that you would work it. Just work it now, God. Be faithful to all your faithful, mighty moms and do extraordinary things. Turn the tide. Break this culture of evil. Strengthen your sons and daughters, King of armies. Fight our battles. Cause us to overcome. There's no one like you. Anything you're battling with, you're going to overcome it because God is with you, the faithful one. Let it be sealed and settled according to your way. In Jesus' name. Somebody said amen.